we're back in the studio again, and now we're going to be talking about the Poetry Club with Nancy Jarvis. You know, poetry has been around for a long, long time, and a lot of oral history really was passed down through the ages by the different troubadours that traveled around the country and sang the songs, or they recited the poems, essentially, of telling about events and the things that occurred. And this brought our oral history down through many, many years before we had a lot of communications. But now we have modern days, and we can write poems and we can publish poems, and we do that. And here at Greenspring, we have a poetry club.
Yes, we do.
And our poetry club has been going on, well, I joined it 9 years ago or so it's been going on for quite some time. And Nancy Jarvis has just finished our directors of the poetry club. She came in, she replaced Ellen Earhart, I think about 6 years ago. Ellen went off and got married. She went to Florida. You know,
I'm not going to do that.
You're not going to do that?
No.
Well, good. All right. Well, what do we have to talk about on the Poetry Club? The first thing is we meet the fourth Wednesday of every month at 1:30. Right now it's in the classroom.
Yeah.
But of course that's in the repositioning project, so we'll have to move in a few months. But right now we meet the fourth Thursday at 1:30 in the classroom in the town center, and we meet tomorrow at 1:30. So we welcome new poets, or those of you who haven't shown up for a while. Come on in and let's have a nice hour of poetry reading.
Yes.
Right.
Something to enjoy.
And the Poetry Club, we've done lots of different things. You know, it's been kind of interesting. The kinds of poems we've written. We've had limericks, haiku. We just finished a haiku poems.
Yes.
Yeah. And one of the sessions that was kind of interesting to me was when Nancy came up with subject lines, about a dozen subject lines, and the intent was to take any one of those and write a poem about it, right?
Right.
But what we turned it into a different thing. We turned it in to write a poem taking each of those subject lines, and I don't know that, but the lines are Murder at Midnight, My Favorite Uncle, Ode to Chocolate, How to Be a Good Wife, I Love Summer, Hate Winter, You Really Don't Know Me, My Dog, and several others. So some of us took those and just wrote a poem using each one as a part of our line in the poem. That was fun.
Yes, I know.
Do you have that poem that you wrote?
Oh no.
You didn't bring it with you?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me read my poem then.
Okay.
Okay. These are I read you only a few of them, so this is a story. I was watching The Murder at Midnight DVD while staying in my favorite uncle's cabin by the sea. My girlfriend was musing over an ode to chocolate mousse while reading How to Be a Good Wife and Not a Husband Lose. She smiled at me and said, I love summer here, but would hate winter cold. And sometimes I think you really don't know me and wondered if you'll love me when we're old. When hearing that, my dog slowly ambled over and looked in my eyes. He sensed that my damn blood pressure was beginning to rise, but calmly I assured Sugar Lips that I would love her forever, and I wanted to know her better and every detail I remember. Then her eyes widened as she looked at the door. God, why crocodiles? As she jumped in my arms, I thought, God, I chose the right one, and smiled. So that was made up of different subject areas. Yeah. It was fun coming up with an imaginative poem like that.
Yes, it was fun, and you do such a good job.
Well, you had a good one too. I'm sorry you didn't bring it.
No, I didn't bring my poem. That poem. I brought lots of other poems.
But you have your own book of poems.
Yes, I've written quite a few. Do you want to hear one?
Sure.
Okay. This is called Tongue in Cheek. I would like to write serious poetry every week, but I can't get my tongue out of my cheek. Attempts at drama, pathos, and highfalutin stuff somehow turn out to be nothing but fluff. I long to compose on a higher plane, you know, deep and important thoughts full of pain. I should write of grief, heartbreak, and strife, the many charms of nature, the meaning of life. Lofty thought and wisdom from little old me. When tongue sticks to cheek, I'll let it be.
You've written several good poems, you know. I like to hear them when you
hope so.
write them.
I hope so.
Yeah. I also, my daughter, Susan, did my poems and songs over 85 years. And, of course, that's when I was 85 years old, and I hadn't been writing 85 years, but most of them.
No, you probably start when you were eight years old.
I was probably about 10 years old when
really?
I wrote a first poem, something like that. But I've been writing them all my life, and songs.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I've enjoyed, and you know, in high school we were required to memorize poems, and I still remember some of those poems. Do you?
No,
You don't
maybe the first line or two or three lines, but not an entire poem. No.
Did you have any favorite poems from especially the high school days?
Favorites? No, not really.
Oh. Well, I still remember several, and I enjoy them. It's but so the poetry club, the limericks was an area that we got into also.
Yes.
And so we wrote several limericks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
And we haven't done that in a while. Maybe that's something to do in the next.
Yeah, we'll have to go back to limericks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good.
So but the haiku, what is haiku?
Haiku is just 3 lines
Okay.
of poetry, and it's a certain number of
7, 5,
of
7.
syllables. Yeah, 7 syllables, 5, and then 7 again.
Yeah.
So it's very short, and you can express a feeling or a thought just, it's clever.
Yeah.
When it's done so tiny, just
And
so
it's-
few words.
And it's the syllables. It's not words.
right,
So 7
syllables. Yes.
syllables.
So it's a rhythm,
Yes. Yeah.
and
And that's Japanese, is that?
it's Japanese,
Yeah.
and it's a way to get at the most important thing about a certain
Yeah. Yeah.
thing.
It's an
idea.
interesting way of
Expressing.
writing expressions.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know we had sonnets. You know, we've had and poems that are put into very very rigid
Forms.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I think today there's a lot of free poetry, and free poetry in the sense of it's not poetry as far as rhyming is concerned, but
Right.
it's the poetry in the sense that the way the expressions are written
It expresses a feeling or a thought.
they do,
or-
and it's a so I'd like to read one of my other poems here. I think it's in the Greenspring Writers Guild. I don't think we've had a recent one, but they publish poems every once in a while. And this issue, it doesn't say. Well, the summer of 2016, it had 3 of us in it. It had my poem in it. It had Nancy poems in it, and another Terrence Cook, who's one of our poetry club. This poem is Time. What's continuously passing but never goes anywhere? It always moves straight ahead. From its path it never veers. When did it start? Will it never end? Does it end for us when we pass on? Certainly for our friends and loved ones, timeless memories of us continue on and on. What about 500 years from now? Will time have ended all trace of me? Or did I move to a new dimension where with time I am never diminished? What about all of my relations from 500 years ago? I do not seem to have any recollection, yet their genes are with me every day, and they will continue in each new relation. So whenever time started, it started with me. Whenever time ends, it will end with me. As long as my relations procreate, I will forever be. How's that for time?
Boy, that's a big stretch of time, all right.
But you know, the idea is I wrote with the poem. You put a subject. I think it was time, and so started thinking about time, and got the first verse written, and then started thinking about something, and thoughts went off on a whole different tangent from whatever I had started out.
Yeah.
And I found that to be it was fun.
It gives you a starting point. Like this newest subject is food.
Yeah. So that's the subject for tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And so we're supposed to come up. We should come up with a poem. Come to our club with a poem about food. Mm-hmm. So.
But it's not necessary. You know. You can show up without a poem.
And just listen to the readings of poems and participate as you would like. But we invite you to come to our meeting tomorrow at 1:30 in the classroom in Town Center. Well, Nancy, thank you very much for coming on board and talking with us about the Poetry Club.
You're welcome.
I have enjoyed it.